And we are live. What is up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Angie's World podcast. I am your girl, Ange, aka Angie's World, and I am joined today by Anthony Johnson.
Hey, what's going on, Angie? I'm happy to be here. Thank you for having me on. We got connected through a mutual friend, so this is dope. I'm looking forward to this conversation.
Yes. Let me tell y'all a little bit about Anthony, y'all. He is a co-parenting coach. He's a podcaster. He teaches webinars. He's an author. He's a former military officer, Army and Air Force veteran. Listen, Thank you for your service, Anthony. Thank you so much, veteran. That job right there is probably one of the hardest jobs in the world. So salute to you and the service that you've done for our country. And what else? I read that you do so many things, but before we get into all of the things that you do, I just wanted to give you your proper introduction.
Okay, I appreciate that. Yeah. So as you mentioned, Army Air Force veteran. So I was in the Army for like 15 years before I transferred to the Air Force. I was enlisted for 7, and then I commissioned as an officer. So I was an officer in the Army and the Air Force. Very different jobs, right? Like in the Army, I was a combat engineer. It was more like, gung-ho military stuff. Then when I transferred to the Air Force, I was completely different. I was a sexual assault response coordinator.
Yes, I wanted to highlight that too.
Yeah. So much different. So that's where and when I started my business, I started doing leadership and leadership coaching and consulting. And then I kind of niched down into co-parenting, which is kind of a roundabout way how I got there. But yeah, man, that's just a few of the things that I do. Yeah.
Absolutely. And you got all your stuff in order. We're going to get into everything that Anthony is doing with that. But let's tell the people where are you from? Because I'm getting to know him at the same time, y'all. We got connected. Shout out to Heather for connecting us. Yeah, shout out to Heather. She's like, yo, Ange, I think that you should definitely have a conversation with Anthony Johnson. He's my friend. He's super dope. He got all this stuff going on. And when I looked into what he got going on, I say, you know what? I think that my viewership and the people that watch me will really, really benefit from the conversation, because I'm going to ask you some things I think that they will want to know, and then of course the stuff that I want to know as well.
Yeah, for sure.
So we getting to know him together, y'all. So where are you from, Anthony?
Originally Buffalo, New York. So yeah, born and raised on the east side of Buffalo, and but I've been in West Virginia for a while, right? So like people say I'm a country boy now, like, because I've been in West Virginia.
I hear the twang a little bit. The country twang.
Listen, I graduated from West Virginia University, and when I left Buffalo to go to West Virginia, when I would come back for like Christmas break and Thanksgiving, man, people would be like, "Man, you sound country as hell." Like, it was like so, and I couldn't even tell. Like I couldn't hear it myself, but everybody say when I go back home, I sound mad country.
Yeah, you definitely got the country, a little bit of the country in you. You actually have a soft-spoken voice too. Could you turn your mic up just a little bit? Because I'm super loud, and then you're soft-spoken. So my headphones are like loud Angie, soft-spoken Anthony.
Okay.
Hello?
Can you hear me?
Yes, so much better. Sorry, guys. We should have did this backstage.
No, we good. No, that's good.
Yeah, we're good now. All right, perfect. So, West Virginia. So when did you get into like the military and stuff like that?
So right out the gate, my freshman year of college, I joined the military when I was 17, about to be 18. It was my freshman year of college. I didn't even plan on joining the military. I wanted to play football, and it didn't work out the way I wanted it to. So I had this recruiter come into my class. I had a military science class. I don't even know how I got on my schedule. He came into the class and he was like, we'll pay 100% tuition, and we'll pay back your student loans from this past semester. I was like, sign me up.
Oh, that's dope.
That was it for me. Really, it was that easy for me to make that decision, because my mom was, trying to get student loans and things like that. And I was just like, look, you're going to pay back this tuition. You're going to pay back my student loan from this past semester. I'm with it. And I signed up.
Absolutely. I hear that. Okay. And how did you feel when you
Where'd you
give me
go? I
one
couldn't see
second,
you.
y'all. I'm having a little bit of I might have to edit this part out. Y'all already know who watch me. My cats be on. Hold on one second, Anthony.
I saw it creeping in the background.
Hold on. Sorry about that, Anthony. You there?
You good. You good.
Okay, so go ahead.
Oh yeah, just talking about, how I got in the military. It was more, I joined the military solely to pay for school. And I just ended up staying in. So, it seemed like it was a good choice for me. They was paying my tuition. I was having a lot of, good experiences in the military. So I stayed in. And I was
What
National Guard most of my career.
What do you feel like you learned the most from that experience?
That's a good question, man. And I think a lot of people, they think you go into the military and it changes you, right? Like people think about military and they oh you get yourself in order and you get in line, you get more discipline and all this. What I learned is that no matter what, I think the biggest thing I learned is no matter what profession you in, no matter what type of uniform you wear, if you're a police officer or a firefighter or in the military, no matter what you put on,
Mm-hmm.
you still dealing with the same kind of people. You still dealing with people when
Right.
it comes down to it, right? So people that come from their own different backgrounds, their own upbringing, their own biases, you still dealing with
So true.
people, right? And the main thing that I learned is that it don't matter what you put on, it don't matter what
Mm-hmm.
you can't hide who you are,
Right.
right? The real you is going to show, and you can either use that experience to find your niche of like and maintain and continue to be who you are and never change,
Mm-hmm.
or you can use it to get to know people and widen your horizon, open your mind up a little bit. And it's like that's what I think I learned most is like, man, like people gonna be people no matter where you at.
That is so true. I tell people that all the time. I'm like, one of the lessons, like you're not going to be happy at any job. You're not going to be happy doing anything unless you learn how to deal with people. That is
Mm.
that is a fact. Like
Yeah.
people learning how to deal with people and being around people and navigate through people's different personalities and just
Yeah.
kind of just how to deal with them is like one of the essential things that you need in life to survive.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah. Like you're not going unless you take a proactive approach to
right.
your own growth and development. It don't matter if you join the military, you're not gonna get the most out of it as you're looking for if you don't take a proactive approach. Because you could join the military and still be kind of lazy in certain areas. You could join the military and still not accept other cultures. You can
Right.
so you got to take that proactive approach.
That is so true. And I see that tell me a little bit about how did you get into the sexual assault response coordinator? Did this happen a lot on the Army? So, okay, so the military is one thing, but the Army is another thing. You were in both.
So I was in the Army and the Air Force, right? So, right, it's all branches of the military: Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, right? All branches of the military. But Army is very different than Air Force, but they both that job exists in every branch of the military. So,
How'd you get into that?
so it was. I almost kind of fell into it. I always had like this history. I've had like college background of social sciences and things like that,
Mhm.
but I had never had any direct training with that. But they train you when you
Mhm.
take a job, right? I
Mhm.
was job searching
Mhm.
and I saw this job with the Air Force. I'm still in the Army,
Yeah.
and I didn't think I was eligible. I didn't think I could apply to it. And I was like, I was looking for full-time work. I was working, long story short, I was a field engineer in the oil field. And then I
Mhm.
changed jobs and I was working for the water company. I went from making like over 100 grand a year to making $15 an hour because
Yeah.
I needed to spend more time with my family, with my kids, and
Right.
working in the oil field had me on the road all the time. So I'm
Right.
looking for a new job that's gonna pay me more than $15 an hour. And I came across this job with the government, and I saw it, and I was like, let me just call and see. I saw it posted a couple times, and I
Mm-hmm.
called, and I talked to the commander, and he was like, "You in the army?" I was like, "Yeah." He was like, "Well, look, we'll interview you, and if we like you, we'll just transfer you over to the Air Force."
Yeah.
And it was really that simple. I interviewed for the job, they liked me, and I did the training for it, and that was that. It was pretty simple.
And
I
with the
always love
sexual
helping people.
Yeah, and with the sexual assault response coordinator, is that for within the community of the Army, the Navy?
It's just within the military community. So
I
if
see.
you,
Okay.
right, so if you are a member, like for the specific job I was doing, if you were a member of the Air Force at the unit on the base that I was on, and you were a survivor of sexual assault, I was the person you come report it to. Right. So,
Absolutely.
and
Okay.
I, I'd guide you through the investigation process, all that. And I'd send a report up to the state.
Now, do you think doing this job kind of gave you the practice that you kind of needed to kind of morph into the coaching and things that you do now?
It definitely helped. I felt like I always had that in me. Like my whole career in the military, I've been an instructor, right?
Mm-hmm.
I've always been
A
an
teacher.
instructor, teacher, a resilience trainer. I was an instructor for officer candidate school in the Army. So like I've always done instructing, like instructing
Yeah.
like convoy operations, things like that. It's always been a thing that I loved and enjoyed. So, and I've been good at it. So, um, but this gave me a different side, like,
Right.
I, dealing with very specific thing, like people who
And the
are
traumas of
and
people.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it definitely helped in a lot of ways. It helped me to be more understanding,
Right.
helped me become a better listener, to be more compassionate.
Right.
So yeah, it definitely helped.
How did you learn not to internalize a lot of the stuff that you were dealing with in that type of position?
And I grew up on the east side of Buffalo, and like on the east side of Buffalo, it's not. I didn't grow up in a nice neighborhood. Like
Mhm.
I felt like I was built for it anyway.
Mhm.
So I've always been a pretty stoic person.
Yeah.
Um, when shit hit the fan, like I've always been able to maintain my calm. I've always been that way.
Yeah.
I was taking care of my family. I was 12, 13, taking care of my family, like holding
Right.
down the house. So, with an alcoholic grandmother, and like my mom
Right.
always at work, and I got siblings. So like, and I seen a lot of stuff growing up.
Right.
So like, to me, it wasn't nothing. I was just there to help people,
I
you
see.
know.
I see. I love that. And y'all, he's also a certified life coach and he's a high school mentor. And we're going to get into what you do in that field as well, how you got into all of that. Um Now, so you finished the military.
Mm.
How did you get into what you're doing now with the now, out of everything that you're doing, what would you say is the one that is at the forefront? Would that be the co-parenting coach? Because I see that that's in your
Yeah, it's what I love doing the most.
Yes.
Right now, it's not where I make my most money,
Okay.
but it's what I love. It's what I enjoy doing the most, because right now I started my business, doing leadership coaching and consulting. So that's where I make my money, doing leadership workshops, whether it's for effective teams, diversity, equity, and inclusion, how to have crucial conversations, things like that. I go and do workshops like that. But um,
How did you get into the coaching,
but
the
this is what I love.
co-parenting?
Well, it's like, they say the sweet spot is where you can find something you really love doing, and then you could get paid for it, right?
Right.
So, all right, so I'm doing this leadership coaching and stuff. I'm doing these workshops on effective teams and how to be an effective leader. And I always find myself talking about being a father, right? Like, that's my most important leadership role. I'd always share little anecdotes and stories and stuff like that about fatherhood. And that's how I would teach my leadership lessons, most of them. So I'm like, man, the leadership field is very saturated. There's a lot of people in that realm, in that industry. So I was like, I remember hiring a coach. They say everybody needs a coach, right?
Yes.
So I hired my own coach, and he walked me through this exercise on how to find your purpose. And I'm in this search of trying to find my purpose. And I'm like, it led down the path of fatherhood and parenting and leadership and all that. And I'm like, yo, I want to help fathers. All right. So it started as me wanting to help fathers. And then I'm like, okay, let me just help people who co-parent in general. And it like kind of morphed into that. So I started my Facebook group for co-parenting fathers, which is almost at 1,000 members right now. Yeah, that's where I started. I was like, I'm gonna just start a Facebook group for co-parenting fathers and try to help men do this.
Right.
But like men, they don't reach out for help as much.
Right.
For some reason as women do. That's just been
Right.
my experience. Like, and so I was like, I'm not just gonna if I want to make money and I want to do business, I need to try to open it up to women too,
Right.
mothers who want help co-parenting. So that's pretty much how I got to where it's at right now.
And there's definitely a huge lane for this particular topic as far as co-parenting, because it doesn't matter from what financial demographic you come from, what color you are, what race you are, whether you're poor, whether you're rich. People from all over the world need help with this.
Yeah.
You know, I listened to a podcast and the guy is a upper middle-aged rich gay guy that he adopted a kid with his husband, and they separated, and now he talks about his co-parenting situations all the time, on his podcast show, of how much of a disaster it is because, their communication, and then the kid goes to the husband and hears one thing and then comes here, and it's all the things that he goes through. And
so crazy.
He just hired himself like a co-parenting coach for himself. So it's like, it doesn't matter if you're in a gay relationship, lesbian relationship, rich, poor, white, black, like this is something that everybody needs.
Yeah. And it's something that people don't normally think to get help for.
Right.
It's like, they're like, a lot of people told me, like, I never even heard of a co-parenting coach. Like that's
right.
And I'm like, yeah, like people need it though. Like
people
badly.
Need this. Absolutely badly.
And all over the world. It's not, like you said, it spans across every demographic, every every race, every culture. So it doesn't matter. People co-parent everywhere.
Absolutely. And when you do the co-parenting counseling, is it individual or group?
It's usually I'll do whatever works for the situation.
I see.
Like every situation is so different, and if I have two cooperating parties, then I work with both people. I work with both parents, but most of the time it's just me working with one person. Most of the time, because it's one person that comes to me for help, and they're like, oh, I'm struggling right now. I don't know how we can't communicate. We can't, like, this person is a narcissist. This isn't what, and it's the one person. And I've had many occasions where like a mom reached out to me. Usually it's a mom reaching out to me, 99% of the time. And they say, okay, well, he's on board. He said he would sit down, and then I never hear from him, or he never showed up. Right. And it's just like, and what I end up doing a lot of times, I end up helping a mom manage and cope. Right. And maintain. So what it turns into is helping her maintain her peace and her sanity while dealing with a difficult person and managing the things within your control. So, and then because I have a background in leadership, coaching and consulting and resilience training and things like that, I can help you with other areas of your life. Right. So my most recent client, we've been my longest client that I've had, we've been coaching for the past 6 months, and we stopped talking about her co-parent in month like 2 or 3. Right. And like, she's like, I'm good. I figured out how to deal with him. Like, I don't understand. He's not going to change.
Yeah. And
we're working on her marriage. We're working on her relationship with her kids. We're working on, like, how to find her again, because she lost herself through motherhood. Right. And so we're working on a lot of other things.
I love that. And make sure y'all follow him on Instagram. He's at AJ, the co-parenting coach. We're going to get into his TikTok and the different, platforms that he's on. If you go to Instagram, there's a link there. And within that link that he has in his bio, you can find him in all the other different places, which we're going to get into. But I want to stay on the co-parenting a little bit because I know that a lot of people might have some questions. My question to you, one of the questions I have, what do you think people do wrong when co-parenting? What do you think is the most thing that they do wrong?
They don't self-evaluate, and they don't realize how they may be getting in their own way.
Yeah.
Right? And so it's like whenever somebody comes to me, they always tell me what can make it difficult to co-parent with this other person. Oh man, they're hard to deal with. They don't respect me. They don't respect my boundaries. Okay, I get it. Tell me more. Okay. Well, have you ever asked yourself what could make it difficult to co-parent with you?
Right.
And not really. Like
Right.
but when you do ask them that question, it gives them an opportunity to be introspective, and then they can start to self-reflect.
Right.
And so the work starts with you. The work starts with you.
Yes.
All right. So how can I figure out what can make it difficult to co-parent with me, put myself in this other person's shoes? So then that gives a foundation of cooperation rather than me figuring out what you're doing wrong. And so you can now tell me what I'm doing wrong.
Right.
And it's like this back and forth in this competition. Right.
That's so true. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Did I cut you off?
No, you're good. So yeah, it's really like people having a hard time figuring out how to be collaborative opposed to combative. Right. So yeah, that self-evaluation piece is huge.
It's so interesting because I think part of I guess part of being emotionally mature is being less defensive, right? Because there's a lot of people out there, they don't want to hear when they're wrong, like their partner brings something to them, their, child's mother or father brings something to them, and their first thing is, oh, let me get defensive, and this is, I think instead of getting defensive, hear what the person is saying, take a look at yourself, see if there's anything that you can get out of what they're saying. And it's not to say that you're always wrong and the other person is right. But it's best sometimes when people either give you constructive criticism or come to you with a problem to not right away be defensive and fire back with an excuse or what they're doing wrong or defense mode. I think once you approach situations like that, it's like downhill from there because the other person feels frustrated, like they're not being heard.
Yeah, because the other person who's being defensive or triggered hasn't done enough of their own work. So like if I can't approach you with something and that's valid without you being defensive, that's your own stuff. Like how can you figure out, can you hear something, can you receive a message and then, which takes a lot of work if you haven't done any, right? And then decipher and figure out, okay, how much of whatever feelings come up for you, how much of this is my own stuff?
Right.
Like how much of this is my own stuff? And then like, okay, what has validity here? Right. And if I come to you as the parent, I say, hey, and I got a question. I want to talk to you about how much fast food the kids have been eating. And you've been on like a health journey for so long and like been able to back and forth and and as soon as I say something about fast food, you like,
yeah,
oh, like you fire off at me because you got all this other stuff that you've been dealing with personally. And like you can't separate it.
That's so true. Or get defensive, like, in fact, you about what the kids have been eating, and then you all of a sudden get defensive. Well, I work hard. Like,
I'm doing the best I can.
Right.
It turns into like, yo, and so what it really has to become is you starting, like I said, starting with yourself. That's one of the things that helped me and my kids' mom, right, get to a better place. It was like when we split, everything wasn't all sunshine and rainbows, right? Like I go in her apartment and I'm looking around. I'm like, Like you know, what's can we clean it up? Doesn't it need to be a little bit cleaner in
Mm-hmm.
here? Like I'm going in and I'm just nitpicking and looking at what I can,
And judging.
and judging like with
Right.
no like with
With no
no reason.
context because you guys aren't together anymore. So you have zero idea what's going on in her separate life. All
Right,
you're doing is coming in, seeing from the outside and judging. So it's
right.
kind of hard. Yeah.
Because you feel like you feel like when your kids are involved,
Right.
you have the right to do that now. Now everything that your kids are a part of is your business, right? So the cleanliness of the house, what they eat in, it's all your business because these my kids, right?
Who she's
And
dating, what
yeah,
she's
like
doing in her personal life.
right. And it's like not thinking about like you said, every time you point the finger at somebody else, it could be 10 pointing back at you. Like, come on, like
Right.
you just we judging people that for sinning differently than us. And it's like what I had to start doing was understanding that we're a team
A team.
still,
Absolutely.
still and forever.
Yes.
Right? We will always be a team. And it is not me versus you, it's us versus the problem. Let's figure out how we can collaborate. Like, so instead of coming in and be like, hey, come on, like, can we can you keep it clean, a little bit more clean in here? I'll go in, I'll drop the kids off, and I take them to I help put them to bed. I used to help put them to bed, like when I drop them
Yeah.
off, and I be like, hey, let daddy help you let daddy help you clean up a little
Yes.
bit, right? And like, and it's not, and it becomes I'm a team member now,
Right.
right? Or
Instead of judging the problem, you're now
yeah,
helping the problem. So
yeah,
if the house being, because look, I don't have any kids, but let me tell y'all something. By the time I work a full week, by Friday, my house looks like a war zone. I gotta put clothes everywhere,
yeah,
like I gotta hang up clothes because during the week you getting dressed, you doing this and that. By Friday, I'm like, oh God, I gotta straighten this house up. So I can't
yeah,
imagine you have children. Every time they
right,
make a mess, if you running behind them cleaning up, you're going to be cleaning up 10 times a day. So it's probably a
yeah,
lot. So it's and I'm saying this, and it's not in just your situation, just for anybody's watching that might have a similar situation with their, child's mom or dad. They probably listening to this like, oh yeah, I feel the same exact way. Okay, so instead of screaming and yelling at him or her about the dishes, maybe if you got an extra 5 or 10 minutes, help straighten up. You
yeah,
never know, that person might be really thankful that you can help out and might open up to you and tell you about some of the things that's going on in their life. So
yeah. And I think that's where it starts. Like it had to start like when of me talking about I had to stop criticizing
right.
complete, and I had to just start to share areas where I wanted to improve.
Right.
Right. And then that allowed her the space and gave her the space to do the same. And now we're not judging each other. We're just thinking about how we can help one another and support each other. Right.
Now, did you become a relationship coach after the hardships that you went through with your relationship? Like, did you go through? I don't want to assume that you went through hardships, but I'm going to assume that if you're not with your children's mom, you guys probably had some co-parenting obstacles to get through
Yeah,
for you to have the wisdom that you have.
we definitely have some obstacles to get through. And I think it definitely helps when you have another partner that's willing to work on themselves too. So shout out to my
Right.
kid's mom, right, for being like a great teammate in this
That's
process.
awesome.
Right. It's just like, yeah, we went through our stuff and we saw and saw you have to really have the mindset of like, I want to grow,
Mm-hmm.
because if you don't, it's just like this, just a one person figuring out on their own, and then they're just figuring out how they can deal with you.
Yeah.
Right?
And that's not
And
good for the kids because the kids could tell. They already feel like they're in the middle when the parents split. And
mhm,
then it's worse when it's like a tug of war. It's fighting over them. It's, the kid is going to the mom's house and hears crap talking about the dad. Then it goes to the
mhm,
dad's house, hears crap talking about the mom. So it's kind of like,
yeah,
it's not a healthy environment to kind of raise your kids in. But if you raise your kids in separate households, but they see that their parents are working together as a team for their greater good, it's
yeah,
it's healthy for them to be able to adjust to the two lives that they have to have moving
yeah,
forward.
yeah. It only makes it easier better for the kids, and that's what it's about, right? Like that's why, like the I just published my first book this year, and the title of it is "It's Not About You."
That was my
Right?
next thing that I was about to go into. That was right here on my list. So you were right
Okay.
on cue. So let me put this book up, y'all, real quick. Let me show this. All right. I want to get into this book, y'all. So he dropped a book. It's called It's Not About You. Where could they find this book?
They can get it anywhere major like books are sold, like Amazon, Books a Million, Barnes and Noble. You can get it online.
Is this a hardcover, paperback? Is this
Paperback.
audio?
It's
Okay.
paperback. I'm gonna do the audio. I'm gonna be doing the audio book soon, so you can get it right now. You can get it on like the paperback and Kindle.
Okay, perfect. So go over to Amazon, type in It's Not About You by Anthony Johnson, and make sure y'all get this book. Tell us a little bit of what kind of info is in the book.
So it's my, from my perspective, my 10 foundational principles, right? And starting with like, and maybe not in the most, like some of the, in the unconventional way, right? So it's not, I have the strong conventional methods of co-parenting here, but I start with my first two principles are like just kind of establishing where you are, like figure out where you are, like personally and within your co-parenting relationship. And principle number 2 is then figure out where you want to go.
Right.
So like let's start just super foundational. Let's figure out where you at. All right. Do a little check. Check in with yourself. And then like, all right, now that we know where we are, and I use the metaphor in the book of a GPS, right? Like a GPS needs to know your starting point.
Right.
If it's going to take you anywhere, it needs to know where it's starting from so it can map out your route. All right. So same thing with your co-parenting relationship. Figure out where you at personally in your own growth journey. And then now we can figure out where you want to go and we can map out a plan for you. That's kind of how I do it with my coaching, right? Give me some foundational work. Like my first coaching session, like whenever anybody signs up for coaching with me, we do the first session don't even count towards the coaching because I need to find out, I want people to get the most for their money, right? And I need background information. We don't even get into coaching yet. Let's spend an hour and a half just talking about background, figuring out, what's.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that too. So if you guys get the book and you guys are interested in booking a coaching session, he does the one-on-one coaching sessions. You do group coaching, you do co-parent workshops, you do coaching sessions. So what is it like in a coaching session with you? So let's say, for instance, a person wants to book a coaching session with you. What could they expect?
So they can expect like me, first of all, to just be challenged, right? And like somebody who's not gonna hold back. And I'm gonna come from a very unbiased point of view. Right? I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna hear your story. I think I'm a very good listener, and one of the things I think I'm really good at is listening and delivering a message to somebody in a way that they can receive it.
Yeah.
Right. I'm not going to talk to everybody the same. Right. I'm going to get to know who you are, how you receive messages, and how and then I'm going to speak to you in that way, and we're going to figure out the best plan. Like everything is individualized, right? So there's no cookie cutter coaching method when it comes to co-parenting because everybody's situation is different. So we're going to sit down and we're going to spend an hour and a half, and we're just going to talk about where you at and what you want to accomplish. And then and the nuances of your co-parenting situation. And we're going to map out a plan for how you get to the best possible place and you maintain your peace and sanity, and you can find room for personal growth and development in that process, because that has to be a part of the process. So those are the things we're going to be working on, like your personal growth and development, your relationship with your partner, and your relationship with your children.
I love that. And you do the individual, you do the group coaching, the co-parent workshop. Do you do relationship coaching?
I can. That's not my area of expertise per se,
I
right?
see.
But I've been, like I said, my most recent client, we do a lot of relationship coaching with her.
I see.
her fiance, right? They're going through it right now. So I've been helping them in their relationship. And he actually said he wanted to come do coaching with me, but she was like, no, like that's my safe space. Like she's like,
she don't want to share you.
You don't want to share. She was like, she's like, if you serious about growing, like go find your person. Like I'll talk to my person. Like she's like, this is my safe space. But like, and I get it. Like I get it.
I do think that individual sessions are important, but so are couple sessions as well.
For sure.
Um, and if you think about it, if you're doing the co-parenting coaching with both parents,
Hmm.
you're pretty much teaching them how to navigate a relationship. So that translates to people who aren't co-parenting and are in a regular relationship. It's sort of like the same thing,
Absolutely.
except there's not a child like in the middle of it.
Absolutely. Because I like to think I'm very intentional, even when it comes to my own relationship. I really believe, like, you know who Jay Shetty is?
Who's that?
Jay Shetty, he's like, oh man, he's a big like personal growth and development guy, monk. He wrote a
No,
couple
let me
books.
write his name down. What's his name?
Jay Shetty, Shetty, and he wrote the book Think Like a Monk.
Okay.
So me and my wife just went to see him in Toronto,
Okay.
because he recently wrote a book on relationships and love, and so his show was all about like love and relationships and things like that. So, um, I I'm very serious about like being intentional in my relationship with my wife, right? So, and how we grow. Like my wife is a cognitive behavioral therapist, and so we came into our relationship being good communicators.
Yeah.
So like, and I think we have a good foundation, and we do it pretty well. So
I
um,
love
I'm
that.
always growing in that area as well.
That is super dope. Now, guys, he also does a webinar and it's called How to Keep Your Sanity When Co-Parenting with a Toxic Ex. Tell me a little
Mhm.
bit about that webinar.
So I linked up with a friend who she has a huge following. Her name is Lisa Sony, on TikTok. If you and she's on Instagram too. Her handle is Stronger Than Before,
Mm-hmm.
and so she's the one who hosted that webinar and invited me on as a panel guest. So she had that, but that webinar still exists. You can go and access it. Um, and we there was a great panel of guests on that webinar on how to keep your sanity while co-parenting with a toxic ex. But she has, Stronger Than Before. She has a ton of content on how to manage, like, she talks about abuse and narcissistic abuse and how to recover from that and how to heal and just how to deal with really toxic exes. And so yeah, so I'm my goal this year is to collab with as many people as I can.
I love it to
Um,
get the word out, right?
yeah, for sure, for sure.
um, but yeah, I think it's very important that we have this conversation because there are so many people out there that they feel alone within the
Mm,
problems that they're having with co-parenting. They are coping with the problems of co-parenting in
yeah,
unhealthy ways. They don't know where to turn. They don't know what to do. So I thought it was so important to have you on here because Anthony Johnson is a co-parenting coach. I told you guys you could go to his Instagram. All his stuff is going to be in the description of the
mhm,
video and in the audio. So you guys can go to him. There's so many different links that he has on there that you can get in contact with him. He has all these certifications and so much experience and that he can help. And I just think it's important to, get the message out there that there is help out there and that if you want to change and if you want to help your relationship and help yourself, there's so many ways that you can just go out there and get the information out with the internet and booking the sessions
yeah,
and the webinars. Um,
yeah, for
how
sure.
how would you say how a person who, let's say, is dating a woman with kids, how would you suggest men to go about dating women with kids?
Well, I think, and I don't want to generalize, uh, but a mother who cares about their kids, you have to know as a man that when you are dating a woman, you are signing up to be like, even if that like it's a total package deal, right? Like, um or at least I think it should be, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um
Absolutely.
some guys go into relationships and they're hands off with the kids, like, especially if the so say the kids have a really active father in their life, right? If he's a good dad, like, right, my kid's mom, she has a boyfriend who
Mm-hmm.
lives with her now, right? I want him to be a part of my kid's life.
Right.
If I think he's a good dude,
Yeah.
Like, I want him to be a part of my kid's life because he might have some insight and some perspective that I don't have.
Right.
Right. So I got to be able to, if you care about being a man, right, and you care about growth, you got to put your ego aside. If it's another father in their life, and if that they have an active father, right? Like, listen, be like, I want to be a part of your kid's life. I'm gonna try to add some perspective and value when I can, and I want to get to know you, right?
Right.
We ain't got to be like friends, like close friends, but we need to know each other if you're gonna be
Bec-
around my kid.
because now he's a part of the team too.
You're a part of the team too, bro. Like
It's a support system for the
you
child, and now this person is a part of that. And it's not to say, if I ever got involved with it, with the man with children, I would say to the child, like, I'm not ever going to be your mom, but I'm an extra person in your life, like a bonus person. Like, I'm not your mom, I'm not your friend, but I'm another like mentor, leader in your life,
Yeah,
someone who you can, just, get something from. Just,
yeah,
I would hope to be able to be a positive influence, a motivator, encourager. I'm never going to be the mom, I'm not going to be a friend, but I am an extra person of support system in that child's life.
yeah. And I would say, like, I think it's important in any relationship to go in and to ask, to be very inquisitive,
Yeah.
and right to because some men, they want to come in, right, and they see how things are operating, and they like, oh,
Right.
I want to come in, I'm gonna come in and try to tell you how to be a mom and like
And
how to
changed up the whole thing.
get these kids in order and like,
Yeah.
right, come in don't come in with demands, come in with questions,
Yeah.
right? Like, how can I best support you
Yeah.
in your situation with your kids and your co-parenting relationship? What can I do to support you, right? When you come in with an inquisitive and mind and wanting to help and wanting to
Right.
listen, then I believe that person is going to be more open to whatever you have, to your suggestions, right? So come
And
in
the other
very
side as well, because you're coming in as like an ally instead of coming in as
right.
like this authoritarian that's like a dictator.
It's like when you it's like when you come in, it's like if you accept a job as a supervisor to a place that you didn't work before, right?
Yeah,
That you didn't climb. So you come in, your job as a supervisor, if you haven't worked there, and there's been people that's been working there for years and they know the system and they've been there, your job is to come in and learn, right? Your job is to come in and
that's a
ask
fact.
questions. Like, that's the first thing. You don't come in and start pushing, giving orders and telling people what to do. They know this better than you, right? They've been here, right? They know the
Right.
system. So you come in and you observe and you ask questions and you sit your ass down and you be quiet, right? And you get to know the system, right? And ask, hey, what can I do here? I'm learning here. Hey, I'm just here to learn. How can I do it? Learn people's jobs, right?
Take heed,
And figure out
ladies and
how things work,
gentlemen.
right? And then once you know the system and you know how you can, then you know how you can be of service, right? Don't just come in thinking with this know-it-all, like, I'm the man. I know how to raise kids. I know how to raise my own kids. No, you didn't raise these kids,
Absolutely.
right?
And
So yeah.
so true. Let me ask you a question. How soon do you think how soon is too soon to meet somebody's kids? Because I know people are going to be wanting me to ask that.
I so this one is like, I think is very situational.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think it really depends on your intent. Okay, what is the answer? Like, people got to be like, they got to be honest in this dating thing, right? Like,
Yeah.
what is your intent? If you see, I think once you know that we may take this to another level, then you want to start to integrate your kids, like slowly integrate your kids. Once you know that we're taking this to another level, that this is more than just sex, this is more than just dating.
Right.
Like, we're both interested in each other and we're both interested in longevity,
Right.
then you start integrating the kids,
I
right?
see.
And I think, but if it's somebody you just dating and you don't really know, you kind of you iffy about, and you like, this, I don't know if it's gonna work
Yeah.
out. Like, why bring the kid? Why Why involve the kids?
So
But like,
true.
but even if you know early, so like that's why I don't know if it's necessarily a time line on it, right? So because it varies for everyone. So if you know early, like, yo, like, we going, this is, I like you, I'm feeling you, you feeling me. I want this to be something a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
Like, then you almost kind of gotta start to integrate your kids to see how that's gonna work for somebody.
Right.
Like, cause maybe this don't work. Like maybe once I get to know your kids, this don't work for me.
That's a fact.
You know,
Because you might have some wild kids, some babies kids, some kids that are crawling all over the place, jumping
yeah,
around all over them, and that person might be like, "What?"
like, you know what? I don't, you know, and or you might be dealing with somebody who don't want you to have no input, right?
Right.
Like,
That could be
and
difficult.
maybe that don't work for you, right?
Right.
So don't tell me how to raise my kids. I don't want. I don't need you. I just need you to be like you. You support me, and don't tell me how to raise my kids though. And you like, all right, like if I'm gonna be, I can't be around your kids all the time if I can never have no input, right?
Yeah.
Like,
That's difficult to put
so
them
I
in
don't.
that. Yeah.
Right. It definitely varies, but like I said, it's soon. Like when you start to know it's going further, like slowly integrate them, meet them at the
Yeah.
park or something, like just slowly.
Especially if you get into that point, ladies and gentlemen, where you want to integrate your life with, or you kind of want to merge your life with the other guy, then I think that's probably a good time, because I'm not judging everybody or anybody, but you don't want to have to keep introducing your
Yeah.
children to people, and then it's like they get used to that person, and then all of a sudden that person is gone completely after they've gotten attached to that person, because you could give your kids abandonment issues after that.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's
I
kind
just
of
think,
like,
yeah, just be careful with it. Like, yeah, your kids don't need to meet everybody you date,
right.
right?
That's
They
a
don't.
fact. That is a
Yeah.
fact. Also, you have a pretty big following on TikTok. Let's go into your TikTok. Let me post this TikTok up here, y'all. I checked this TikTok out. I like TikTok because I like watching your TikTok because you do like little scenarios and stuff. I watched the TikTok where you talked about waking your son up
Mm-hmm.
for
Oh yeah,
school.
yeah.
Like your son is the type that, like he'll talk about on his TikTok, like he'll put different scenarios out there and tell like different stories of his life or different things that he's gone through and kind of how he was able to navigate through the thing. So the
Mhm.
TikTok that I like was the one that you talked about your son. It was like difficult for him to get up, so every morning you were having a problem getting him up, and then one day you were like, well, my son's love language is touch and words of affirmation. So instead of, getting impatient and upset and ripping the covers off of him, I
Mhm.
sat in the bed with him and spoke to him to try to get him up and rubbed his back and different things like that. And he responded better to getting up for school.
Yeah.
So it's like little reels and stories like that. So I feel like
Yeah.
people can relate to these things because that's what they go through in their regular life, like getting their kids up for school, co-parenting. There was another story that I watched where you talk about you were texting with your kid's mom and it wound up being like a stranger you were texting with.
Yeah.
She wasn't responding and you were like, well, what did I do wrong? Just
Mhm.
like little things like that. So make sure y'all follow him on TikTok, the co-parenting coach. Tell us a little bit about how you got through that thing with your son. Was it just like some psychology that you put in there, or like how was
It's it's like I talked about earlier, the self-evaluation.
right?
So that has to be, for me, that's a constant part of my life.
Mm-hmm.
So evaluating my own performance on how I parent, how I navigate my day, like how productive I'm being, etc. Right.
So
So
true. Can we? I don't want to breeze past that. Can you say that one more time about the self evaluation?
it has to be an ongoing process. It never ends. It never
I
ends.
do this literally, guys. What he's saying, and I never even had a session with him. This is the first time I'm meeting him. I do this once a week.
Hmm.
I probably should do this more, where I sit down and I evaluate myself, y'all. And I say, okay, this is what I did this week. This is where I went wrong in A, B, and C.
Mm-hmm.
What do I have to do starting next week to combat some of the mistakes that I made this week? It's a literal thing that you have to continue to do with yourself. And let me tell you guys, and look, I'm not a freaking coach here, but I'm so passionate in this.
Go ahead.
You are not going to get anywhere if you are in self-pity. You can't be a victim and a victor. If you want to sit there and feel sorry for yourself in your situation, you could do that, but you can't be pitiful and powerful at the same time.
No.
So if you want to be powerful, you're going to have to self-evaluate, and you're going to have to point the finger at yourself and look at yourself in the mirror of the things that you're doing wrong. But I'm going to give it back to Anthony because this is about Anthony.
Well, I mean, it ain't got to be all about me. Like, this your podcast too. Like, listen, you dropping jewels. You can't be pitiful and powerful. That's powerful.
No.
That's a powerful line. And like, so what's your self-evaluation process look like for people who may not know? Like, it may help somebody.
My self-evaluation process is I do a lot of meditating and thinking. So on Sunday, usually that's the day, because working during the week, you're super busy. Saturday, I like to relax, and Sunday is pretty busy for me. It's like a filming day for me. It's running errands day for me. But at the end of the day, I like to, during the week, I have like this Rolodex where I'm putting certain things in my mind, but I usually on Sunday, I write it out and I self-evaluate. What did I do wrong for the week? Behaviors. You know what I'm saying? Okay. I might have did this, and this. Okay. Maybe I'm spending too much time on a line. Yeah. Maybe I'm not going to sleep early enough. Maybe I'm arguing too much with this person. Maybe I didn't eat the greatest this week. Whatever it is that I feel like I fell short with during the week. Oh, I didn't do this at work. I didn't do that. You know what I'm saying? I'll self-evaluate that, write everything down, write my goals down, and try to correct it for the next week. And it's different things. It's not only diet and exercise. It's ways of communicating. Oh, I got into an argument with this person or that person, or, significant other here or there. What can I do in this relationship to make it better? How can I be a better niece? How can I be a better cousin? But then at the same time, I also feed my mind things that are going to uplift, empower, and inspire me as well, because you don't want to beat yourself up. You also want to know that. Right. You also want to tell yourself and love yourself and do all of those self-care things mentally and physically, but you have to constantly self-evaluate. So that's what mine looks like. What about you?
Yeah, it's very similar to what you're saying. And I think I want to add something to what you're saying is this is a self-evaluation. This is not I'm judging myself.
Right.
On my performance, and like I'm like beating myself up, like you said.
Right.
This is not feeling sorry for yourself because I said I was going to do this and I didn't do that, and I'm just I can't get it together. No.
Right.
Like just a serious evaluation. What can you do better? So in that process, you can also talk about how you did well, like what I did well this week. Right. So it's not just like beating yourself up the whole time. Like, man, I really killed it when my to-do list. I'm really, this, whatever. So make sure you also celebrating your wins.
Absolutely.
When that self-evaluation process. Right. So you maintain that balance. But yeah, it's about writing it down, putting it on paper, like journaling. And like, all right, how much time? So sometimes I'll do it a couple of times a week, and just like,
right.
All right, like, man, I really spent more time on social media than I would have liked today.
That's me. Yeah. I'll yep.
Right. Like this is very similar to your process. And then also like, where can I be intentional? So I think that's such an important part of life is like intentionality. Like how much, quality time have I spent with my kids?
Yeah.
Like how am I still being present when they're at their mom's house? Like, how am I still maintaining a presence? Like things like that. Have I checked on them with, soccer practice, whatever is going on. So all the aspects of your life, just analyze and be very intentional.
Yes, so true. Finances. Did I waste money this week? Did I eat out
Hmm.
too much this week? Did I, shop too much this week? How can
Hmm.
I clean that up next week? So it's your finances, it's your work life.
Yeah.
Did I have too much idle time at work? How am I going to be more productive at work? Or, did I go to sleep late this week? Maybe if I go to sleep early this week, I can devote more time into my
Yeah.
second job. Whatever it is, you have
Yeah.
to constantly
Whatever.
self-evaluate.
Whatever you care about, the things that you care about. How did I make my wife feel special this week?
Yeah.
Right? Like everything.
Yeah, so that's what you did. You self-evaluated and you were able to figure out how to combat the issue with your son and his alarm clock situation. And that's just one
Yeah.
example of what's on TikTok, what's on Anthony's TikTok. He has so many different scenarios that he's gone through in his life that he shares with the world. And I think by watching his, it makes you think about your own, and maybe you can try some of the things and advice that he gives you and apply it to your life and see how it works, because
Yeah.
there's a lot of great insight there. We definitely appreciate people like you online that just like put it all out there, because you don't realize how many people you're helping.
Yeah, and all I do is talk about co-parenting really on my TikTok. So I've gained a decent following,
Yeah,
So
you have, and it's still growing. How long have you been doing TikTok?
It's a little over a year.
Yeah, I mean, look, you're at 20 something K. Like
Yeah.
that's phenomenal.
Uh,
Can you imagine
Thank you.
100
So
people in a room just listening to you talk? Now picture 20,000. That's a
I know,
lot of
right? It's great.
people.
Like my wife was saying that, like I haven't been on like a huge stage yet, right? And to where just like thousands of people. But like when I saw Jay Shetty in Toronto, it was a at this small theater, maybe like 2,000 people, right? But still like 2,000 people.
2,000 people is
Right.
a lot of people.
And as soon as he walked on stage, I was like, this is me. This could be me. This is gonna be me. Like I'm
That's
gonna be on
right.
this stage at some point. And my wife knew that I was thinking that. Like we went out for intermission, and she was like, She's like, were you thinking that you could be on that you could be on stage? Were you thinking about that? And I was like, yeah, definitely. She's like, I know, I saw you thinking about it, like,
Oh,
and just thinking about I immerse myself into it, and I start thinking about what I would say, like how I would open up, like
right.
I was like deep into it, and so yeah.
That is definitely in the cards for you, because I mean, look at it. You're on TikTok, you're talking to 20,000 people, you're putting your content out there. Soon you'll be able to take your stuff on tour, book out, events and arenas. You'll be guesting and collaborating and going on sets. It's definitely a process. I feel like that about my podcast too. You
Yeah,
know
for
what
sure.
I'm saying? Like from a couple of hundred to a couple of million, from my mouth to God's ears. But you do it because you love it, because you have a passion for it, and you build it brick by brick.
Mhm.
And that's how you do it. And you just don't settle for a second grade life. You know
Right.
what I'm saying? Like you just continue to push what God is, what direction that God is pushing you to do. And when you are living out your destiny and why you're here, God is going to open up all the doors. And that's kind of how I feel about my platform too.
Yeah.
My platform is about empowering, uplifting, and inspiring people. And the
Yeah.
guests that I have on here are people that have been through things and, within their life. And I feel like the people that watch, I want them to be able to get something out of it. How can it
Yeah.
help them? How can it empower them? How can it inspire them? Because, we are living in a time where we are lacking leadership. We are lacking peacemakers. We are just lacking so much. And we're just overwhelmed by what we see in the media all day long, the mess,
Mhm.
the killing, all of this stuff. And it could be a lot. So to take my platform and to have someone like you with your platform where, we're helping people, I think that that's, a diamond in the rough now. There's very few people who do it because, in this day and age, it's all about the clout chasing. It's all
Yeah.
about the views. It's all about saying anything just to get attention. You could
Yeah.
turn around and tomorrow upload a Kevin Samuels kind of thing. Let me tell you something about y'all women. This is what y'all doing wrong in co-parenting, and probably have 1 million views because you're demeaning women or you're demeaning men. But I always say, do you want the respect or do you want the attention? For me, I'll take the respect because the attention's going to come. Facts. I'm not going to be, messy on my platform or say some, nasty stuff about somebody else just so I can get the views. Like that's not the way to do it.
I had to think about that. Like integrity is big. Right. And like I posted in my Facebook group this morning and I said, hey, I was like, what's something about co-parenting that's a pretty common issue that we don't talk about enough, right? That we need to talk about more. The first response was deadbeat mothers, right? Like, and it was like, that was the first response that I got from somebody in my group. Like, do you want to talk about, that's what you want to talk about? That's what we need to talk about more. Like, we need to talk about deadbeat moms. That's
going to help y'all, or is that?
Like, that's going to help the men in this group. Like, it's a men's group. So
right.
And I also shared something recently, like, it was about a month ago. I shared something on my TikTok. It was a mom. She was doing something like that I really didn't agree with. And I posted it and just wanted to get people's thoughts on it. And it got so many views.
Right.
And it was like my most viewed video, like out of the past, like 10 or maybe 5 or 10 that I posted, had over 100,000 views. And people was commenting on it. Oh, like, oh no, she's terrible. She's horrible. And I deleted it. I didn't feel good about it. And I was like, man, like I wanted it to spark conversation, but it ended up turning into a bunch of people bashing this woman.
Because it didn't move the conversation forward. Yeah. Everybody's going to come for the stoning. Everybody's going to come for the cancel culture party. Everybody wants to congregate together to stone people because it's more comfortable for humans to bask in judging others, stoning others, than taking a look at themselves and actually applying what they need to apply to change their life. It's so much easier for men and women with daddy and mommy issues to hold the women accountable, to hold the men accountable by bashing them, when in all reality, what is bashing going to do? It might make you feel good temporarily to make them quote unquote suffer or feel like crap. But how is that going to uplift, empower, and inspire you to make a change in your life? And most people, they just want the mess so they don't have to deal with they're escaping their life, right? It's easier for them. And that's why that stuff gets the attention and the views.
Man, I was like, man, this don't fit what I'm about.
Right.
I had to delete it, even though it's getting like a lot of traction on my account. I was like, this ain't the traction I want.
Yeah, no, I get it. And I said, like, I mean, the same thing with me. I've had individuals contact me and be like, and be affiliated with some very famous people and try to like say like, I want to come on your platform to expose this person. And I'm like, this is not exposing thing. Like, if you want to touch on, if you have anything that you want to talk about, that you're doing, like, we can focus on you and like the positive things. We can graze over this, but this is not a whole, this is the main event. We're going to expose X, Y, and Z just so I can like, we're not doing that. Like, it's, hold on to your integrity and hold on to, the things that you believe in, because in the future, in the long run, you're going to get that respect and that's going to last forever. Those views is like microwave, like people will love you and people are very fickle. They'll give you those views and love you one day and hate you the next. And so that stuff. Yeah. All right. So let me ask you, Anthony, what do you have planned in 2023?
2023. So right now, the main thing I'm doing right now is I'm recording my podcast right now, my second season.
Oh yes, I wanted to ask you real quick. Did I over wow, I think I missed that real quick. Tell me about your podcast.
So my podcast is called The Molds That Make Fatherhood.
Yes, I did miss that. I'm so sorry, guys. It's right here. The Molds That Make Fatherhood. I had it queued up and ready to go.
So like I started that and I did one season and I wasn't sure if I was going to do it again. And then I wrote my book and I was like, you know what, I'm still going to do my podcast. Because I was working with this dad's rights movement, the father's rights movement too. And I was doing like a live show with them. And a lot of the information was overlapping. And so I was like, I don't know if I want to do that show and do the podcast, but I stopped doing the show. And I'm like, man, I got to do my podcast again. I got to keep talking to people and I want to do my whole second season is about co-parenting. So
y'all better make sure y'all follow that podcast. Where can they get it?
So yeah, everywhere: iTunes, Spotify, Apple, all that, whatever you can find it. And I haven't released any of the episodes from season 2 yet. I'm recording them right now, and I'm debating whether I want to release it all at once so people could binge it, or I'm gonna just like trickle them out. So
trickle them out.
I think I am, because it's been getting some certain people that I've been trying to get the book on there that have a huge following. Like it's hard. It's been taking a while to schedule some people. So I'm gonna need it. It's taking too long now since I conducted my first interview. So I'm gonna start trickling them out.
And then also it'll also build that trust with your audience and that anticipation that every week at this day they're going to get a new episode. They're going to be waiting for it. Like even with my podcast, I'll put them out consistently every week, and then sometimes I might take a 2 or 3 week break and people are hitting me up. Where's the podcast? Every Monday I take a shower. I do this on Sunday and I listen to it. This is part of my routine. Where is it? So if you put it out like that, you'll get those people who, are just like, it's part of their routine. They go to work every Monday, or you drop at the same time every week, and it becomes part of their schedule, and they'll be waiting for it.
Yeah, that's funny.
I know it's like different because like with Netflix, we want the whole season to come out at once, but I think with podcasts, it's different.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah. So make sure y'all check out his podcast too. There's so many ways to contact you. You got your stuff together. I love that.
I'm working on it. Like if you listening and you want to check out like a good podcast episode, the very first episode of my podcast, very first season, very first episode is a conversation with my father. And
I love that.
He was the first guest on my podcast. Me and my father didn't have a good relationship. We made amends, and he was the first guest on my podcast. We laughed, we cried, and we had a great conversation. And a lot of men after that, my group reached out to me and said, hey, you inspired me to reach out to my father. So it was,
a good episode. Yeah. Guys, definitely make sure that you check that out. What advice, Anthony, would you give new co-parents?
I know it can be pretty broad, right? So if you're a new co-parent, I would ask people to take a breath and just understand like that if you are intentional and you're willing to do the work, it's going to be okay. Right? Like some people are scared to death right now because they may be in a new co-parenting situation and maybe the other person isn't really involved. And they feel like they're going to be a single parent or single mother or single father, or they're going through a nasty court battle or custody battle or something like that. Focus on the things that you can control, right? Because if you do not, you will drive yourself insane.
Yeah.
Right. But it's easier said than done. You may need to get a coach. You may need to go to counseling. You may need to elicit some help from people you trust. Right. But focus on the things you can control. Just being the best parent that you can be. Right. Not what the other person is doing, not how much they're going to show up, not how they're going to contribute. And those things matter. Right. But those things are not within the realm of your control.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So focus on the things you can control. I would say that would be the first thing. Right. And then slowly, one thing at a time, start working the other things. Right. Because people are really stressing out about co-parenting.
Yes, I think it's like high anxiety because it's, it's adjusting your life to the new normal. It's fear of the unknown. A lot of times people there's things that they can't control. So it's like their mind starts spiraling like, okay, so people just don't know how to navigate a lot of things, so it's just like, what do I do? How who is this new person that he or she is going to be dealing with? And, what's going to happen with my kids? Are they going to be okay? And I think people just psych themselves out to just be super anxious about everything, super scared of the unknown,
Yeah.
and I think that that's a recipe for disaster.
Yeah. And when you're trying to navigate this process, it can be overwhelming.
Yeah.
Right. So there's an amazing book I love called The One Thing. Right. And it's really about focusing on the one thing you need to do. Because when you think about,
So
like I said,
true.
it gets overwhelming. You're like, oh, I got to do this. I got to figure out a schedule. I got to figure out childcare. I got to figure out this, that, and other, my work schedule, all that. What's the one thing you need to focus on right now? What's the next thing? Figure that out. Right. And then move on to the next thing. Right. Just it's like take one step, one thing at a time.
Mm-hmm.
And don't let yourself, because it will eliminate some of that feeling of overwhelm. And
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, just like, all right, take 2 steps of that one thing, right? And then it'll start to get easier.
So true. That
Yeah.
that is so true. I put it up on the screen, y'all. Make sure that y'all check out that book, The One Thing, because like even me, I'm not a person that, there are times where I may feel anxious and overwhelmed and I don't know what to do. And I write a list and I just literally focus on one thing at a time.
Mhm.
It sounds so easy, but a lot of people are just like when it's
Yeah.
time, they're just like, oh my God. But trust me, one thing at a time will ease your
Man.
anxiety, because anxiety is nothing but a whole bunch of thoughts being put in your head at one time. So
Mhm.
writing it down, organizing it, and focus on one thing. And this is what I always tell people. I'm like, when you're going through life, take one thing. But besides, sometimes people can't even, Anthony, take one thing at a time.
They
Sometimes you
can't.
got to take 1 minute at a time.
Mhm.
Sometimes people need to take 1 day at a time, 1 minute at a time,
Mhm.
130 seconds at a time. And if you just focus on being in the present and taking one thing at a time, you will see that one
Mhm.
thing goes into the next thing, that goes into the next thing, and half of the stuff that you was worried about is not even going to happen.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, a
Yeah.
lot of time people are scared of the unknown. People are scared of things that didn't even happen yet. Focus on what's in front of you. Don't borrow from the future, because we could be dead in the future. And
Yeah.
don't think about the past. Just focus on this moment, this day, this present, and go from there. That's what I tell people.
Yeah. And one way you can do that, a tool you can use, is just to ask yourself in the moment, what's the most important thing that I need right now?
Right.
Right. Like, because it may not be what you think it is. Right.
Yeah.
And if you're not intentional about thinking about it, the most important thing you might need in that moment may be a few deep breaths.
Yep.
Like you like, so just like stop and ask
Yes.
yourself, what do I need right now?
Absolutely.
I just need a moment to breathe. Let me breathe. Okay. Now what do I need? Right. I need to get my kids breakfast ready. Okay. Good.
Right.
My kids lunch is
Exactly.
ready for
That's
school. Like, just,
yes.
yeah.
So true. Oh man. Listen, I don't want to keep you here all night, Anthony. Before we get up out of here, I want to know if I could play a game with you, because I play a game with all of my guests.
I'm with it.
All right,
I'm
cool.
with it. Let's do
But
it.
before we get out of here, like I said, make sure that y'all follow Anthony on Instagram. Get his book. If you don't want to get the book, there's a podcast. If you want to listen to podcasts, there's a webinar. If you don't want to do the webinar, you could do coaching sessions, group sessions. I mean, Anthony is all over the place. This was a super dope conversation. I think that thank you, like I said, for your service that you did as a veteran. And besides that, all the help that you did while you were in there with the sexual harassment line, and just what you do now with coaching people and helping co-parent and following your dreams and your passion and teaching people. I want to give you your flowers, and men like you who step up and try to be the change in the world that they want to see and give the leadership and everything. Definitely, big up yourself. And, I want to give you all the flowers of the world, and good luck with everything that you got going on, Anthony, for real.
I return the same to you. Like, you're doing big things. And like you said, just your message with just trying to inspire people and uplift. Like,
I just want to help. Yep.
We need that. So keep doing your thing, man. I'm always going to be here to support you.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you, Anthony. Thank you. All right. So we're gonna play this game. It's gonna be called This or That, right? And so I'm
Okay.
gonna give you two
This or
options, and you just tell me real quick this or that. All right. Writing a book or podcast?
So you're saying like
You gotta
I'm
pick
just
one.
supposed to pick? I just gotta
Yep.
pick one.
And you can't think about it. It just gotta be like
Okay,
writing a book or podcast. Which one?
podcast.
All right. Coaching people or making TikToks?
Coaching.
TV series or movies?
Ooh. Movies.
All right. Players Club or Friday?
Friday.
Beyonce or Alicia Keys?
Alicia Keys.
Trivia night or board game night?
Trivia.
All right. Takeout or dine out?
Dine out.
Audio book or read a book?
Audiobook for sure.
Shopping in store or online?
Online.
All right. Sleeping with a fan or no fan?
No fan.
Bad breath or bad body odor?
Oh shit. Man. Breath.
Oh my goodness. Either one sucks.
I know,
Instagram
Instagram
Instagram famous or TikTok famous?
Instagram famous. I think it's hard to get Instagram famous.
Netflix or Hulu?
Netflix.
Coffee or tea?
Right now, it's been coffee.
All right. All right. What did I put? I don't even know what I put. Be embarrassed or be afraid?
Actually, I'm cool with either one. Like,
if you had to pick one,
I'd rather be afraid. Because I can get over that.
Okay, wine or beer?
Wine.
Cooking or being cooked for?
Oh, being cooked for.
Lose sleep or skip a meal?
Skip a meal.
Okay. Reality shows or documentaries?
Documentaries.
All right. Money or love?
Love.
All right. That is what's up, Anthony. Thank you for being a good sport and playing the game with us today.
Thank you.
Yes, cool. Once again, Anthony, thank you so much for stopping by. I hope you all enjoyed Anthony here with us today. Let us know. Actually, I'm going to do, I have to, you know what? I got to introduce, there's Coach R. Anthony. Shout out to Coach R. Anthony. He is one of my good friends. He is a dope mentor of mine. I had him do an episode on this podcast, and I was telling him that I wanted to get him back with other men so we could do kind of like a theme based. Like, I got some ideas to do it. I'll definitely be reaching out to you again if you want to come back on the podcast. I think it would be dope for you to be on the episode with Coach R. Anthony as well.
Oh, anytime.
That's what's up, guys. So make sure you follow. Let me put your Instagram up here one more time before we get up out of here. Anything that you want to promote or let them know before we get up out of here?
Yeah, just really go get the book. All right, go get the book. It's the cheapest way you can access my thoughts and opinions. Go get the book. It's not about you. It looks like this. If you find it on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Books A Million, get the book.
I'm definitely going to support and get the book.
And then if you don't reach out to me, if you don't go to me for coaching or anything like that, start doing the work on yourself. If you got kids, do the work on yourself, whatever it is you need to do so you can show up better for your kids. All right. Just do your own work. All right. Start your personal growth journey today.
I love that. Anthony, thank you again. Don't go nowhere, Anthony, but I just want to say shout out to everybody that checks out my podcast. Shout out to YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Follow me on Clubhouse at Angie's World Podcast. Follow me on Instagram at Angie's World Podcast. I always say this, y'all, you could be anywhere in the world, but you decided to be in Angie's World. And for that, I love you. My name is Angie. That's Anthony. And we out of here, y'all. Deuces.